Salutations, my Fallout lovers. It is Matty here today with another Fallout 4 discussion video. Yes, another week, another Fallout 4 discussion. And this week we're going to be talking about what I believe is Fallout 4's biggest letdown and has been discussed widely amongst the community, and that's the survival mode in Fallout 4. Now, in the background, you're going to be watching various gameplay clips of me playing on survival mode, and you'll notice one thing in that it's absolutely nothing different from any other difficulty. And I have a big problem with this mode, and the reason I have a problem with this is because it brings it back to what Fallout 3 exactly was. During survival mode, I found myself becoming incredibly dependent on VATS because that was the only way to do proper damage in the game, and just playing it awkwardly safe. Not a fun safe, but awkwardly safe. And the reason I say that is because in survival mode, if you did not know, the really only big changes in the mode are that enemies have more health and that your stim pack healing is abysmally slow. It's awful. It's so slow. And that's why I say that it's an awkward slow pace, where when I start taking damage and I take a stim pack, I find myself running anywhere just to get out of the line of fire. And it's an interesting dynamic, but not the fun type of dynamic. It's like, okay, after like 20 seconds, I'd like to get back in that fight, but you obviously don't want to waste your stim pack. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, this is with me at a fully maxed out medic perk. And when you fully max out medic perk, it actually lets your stim pack healing speed up. So this is a sped up version. You can see just how slow it really is. And on top of that, during this gameplay clip, I'm about level 61, I think, and I have a fully maxed out rifleman perk, a fully maxed out medic perk, a fully maxed out gun nut perk. And the reason I'm highlighting gun nut is because I have a fully modified weapon, and it's one of my strongest weapons. And you'll see in the gameplay when I'm shooting mutants or raiders or whatever, I really don't do all that much damage, despite me jumping into this with a fully maxed out character, essentially, in the sense of combat scenarios. And so that's what bothered me, is that the mode didn't reward my character build at all. And then on top of that, let's just discuss that the name itself is a lie. There's no survival mode. You're not surviving, because if you ask me, that's what you would have called New Vegas's hardcore mode. This is more of a hardcore because all it does is make everything beefed up and kick your ass, while in New Vegas, that was more of a survival mode. You get what I'm saying? Where you had to eat, drink, sleep, and I think that was miles better. Also, ammo had weight, and I think that was a awesome mode. And I was really genuinely surprised that Bethesda didn't carry this mode over into Fallout 4. Now, I know we're all going to sit here and kick our feet up and be like, well, some kind soul in the community is going to go ahead and make a survival mode overhaul mod by that title, and it'll add weight to the ammo, it'll add, drinking, eating, and sleeping as a necessity. They'll do all this, and I get that it will be modded in eventually. It's almost a shoo-in because so many people are talking about it. But I don't think that excuses Bethesda, and if there was one thing I could say they were a little lazy with in this game, it's probably this mode, because they really adjusted most of our complaints when it came from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, in my honest opinion. But one of them was, hey, when we want to bump up the difficulty, we just don't want bullet sponges that can kick our ass. We want maybe smarter AI. And I did notice one thing in the survival mode. It was enemies picked their shots a little more. They threw a lot more grenades at you. There was one time an enemy threw 3 in a row at me when I was going up a flight of stairs, which was a little ridiculous. But they do fight a bit differently. They fight a little more organized, but nothing completely different that really set it apart. And that was what the issue was with this, is that they kind of pump up the mode in the sense of when they talk about it in the loading screens, and when you read about it, it's like, oh, this seems different, this sounds different. And they really just didn't capitalize on it. And I'm not saying that as a game developer it's easy to add all these meters and these features into a separate optional mode that really wasn't played all that much, but I feel as a player that this is something that, since it was so widely popular in New Vegas, that we kind of deserved, because of just how many people who wanted it and how many people enjoyed it. If you want my honest opinion, I didn't like New Vegas for many, many years until I played it in hardcore mode, and I felt that is the way you need to play New Vegas to enjoy it, because in New Vegas there were so many areas that were so tiny and had little to no value, but then you played those areas through in hardcore mode and you realize, oh wow, I need this, this, and that, and all of a sudden all these areas and these plants and everything had extended value. And I feel in Fallout 4, where every little piece of junk has value, and you combine that with a hardcore mode where now literally every single item in the game, food, water, what have you, instead of investing in your settlement, it's all about you. And maybe investing in the settlement could help you out because then you could just harvest food. You get what I'm saying, where it could have come full circle and been something so much deeper. And obviously, knowing Bethesda, they would have wanted to take that maybe a step further. Now, I know I've always had my fingers crossed that maybe Bethesda will release like an official patch with a hardcore mode and saying like, hey, you know, here it is. We know you guys wanted it and we just decided to add it for free because so many people were asking for it. But I don't think it's going to be something that simple because that sounds like an overhaul of the game itself. But it just feels like the biggest letdown because I want to play on this mode, but I'm not going to put myself through that. It's literally like Fallout 3 all over again. Yeah, I want to play on the higher difficulty and give myself a bit of a challenge, but I don't feel like putting myself through that because it's not challenging me. It's just wasting my ammo. And in hardcore mode, or rather survival mode, sorry, I'm getting them mixed up now, you'll see that the enemies drop a little less ammo, and this is when I have my Scrounger perk ranked up. Ammo is a lot less frequent in the wasteland, but nonetheless, it's just the same base game with beefier enemies, and it just reminds me of like very hard on Fallout 3. Just bullet sponges, enemies are tougher, and you just have to suck it up. They did at least add some mechanics in the sense of a slower healing rate, but it's just not that crazy fun. And I guess maybe it's me also expecting something a little bit more, right? You know, I'm also sitting here thinking, well, maybe this is just what Bethesda wanted to do. Maybe they somehow, I don't believe it, but didn't have time. But it's just a little shocking that in the end of the day, they didn't decide to throw in a hardcore mode. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it was patched in with DLC or something along those lines where, you know, there's just too many people talking about it and how upsetting survival mode is. So I decided to bring a little more attention to that issue, that survival mode is probably Fallout 4's biggest letdown. I know some people are going to be snarky in the comments like, well, what about the story or the lore inconsistencies? What the fuck ever. That's up to your personal opinion. To me, I think that the survival mode was the biggest letdown. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think on survival mode in the comments down below. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Links are down below. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.